This video will be focusing on necromancy and will be an introduction to the subject matter from primarily a paganistic point of view. So I hope you enjoy the video, and at the end I'll give you a little talk on what you can expect from the next video.
Hello again guys, welcome back to another Big L Devlin video. Today we're going to be continuing our discussion on the spirits of paganism, but starting to focus on necromancy. Now, this is just a natural progression because you can only go so long within any topic within paganism to some extent without then progressing onto the magic element of your beliefs and your practice. But the thing about necromancy is it's actually a very specialized form of magical practice within all forms of paganism. It is a very old magic and something that has existed pretty much as long as belief within the spiritual world has existed. But at its most advanced state, it is something that you simply cannot just jump into. You need a solid foundation of practice with other magics before you go into necromancy. And of course, there is no obligation to practice necromancy either. Very few people who practice paganism will actually move into necromancy, and even less of them will practice it fully and completely. Of course, being able to practice necromancy is also not exclusive to the practice of other magical fields. For example, I have a foundation within Seder magic and also runic and Galgia magic. And despite now moving into and learning about necromancy, I still have not given up my practice of those said magics, my primary one being still Seder over everything else. But what makes necromancy different to the other types of magic? Every magic is unique in one respect or another, in the way that it works with the world around you and within yourself. For example, Seder magic is, out of all the magics, the most ritualistic out of all the pagan magics, often involving ceremonies and rituals to perform whatever magic you're trying to use, ultimately to try to interpret and observe fate, and then influence it subtly with a little ripple that cascades through time to bring long-term effects. Galgia magic, however, brings very immediate, very noticeable effects, has very little impact in the long term. As I say, it focuses primarily on the present, on the here and now, and uses the sounds of runes as your focus to try and influence ultimately fate within the immediate period of time. In fact, working with fate is really, I suppose, the common denominator, if you wish, for most magics. But necromancy, this is where it stands out from the rest of the magics, does not concern itself with the flow of fate or the influence of fate in any way whatsoever. Instead, necromancy concerns itself with working with and using spirits, typically spirits of the dead. Hence the name necromancy. Necro, it means death, and mancy means magic, death magic, or the magic of the dead. Now let's just be clear, right? First of all, before we progress any further, necromancy is not the resurrection or the reincarnation of the dead spirit into another new living body, or even dead body that it then reanimates. It is not how it is presented within Hollywood and horror novels and things like this. Necromancy instead is primarily concerned with communication with the dead. Again, something you'll all be familiar with. You might be saying, well, how do you speak to the dead? Well, you've all seen Ouija boards, right? Well, Ouija boards are, in fact, a necromantic practice, a very crude, very primitive form, of course. But they are a tool that can be used in necromancy. Now, traditional pagan practitioners of necromancy would never use a Ouija board, but would use a similar analogue, just something that's a little bit more potent, so we say.
Well, I certainly hope that whetted your appetites, guys, and made it clearer what necromancy is within paganism, at least anyway. The next video will be concerned with the different types of spirits that a necromancer works with. And we may even try and cover the topic of talismans within necromancy. If not, we might split it over 2 videos, but we'll probably combine them into one longer video. Anyway guys, thanks for tuning in, and I'll see you soon.